So I have a new all-time favorite TED Talk. It is so good. I want you to watch it. Like, stop what you're doing and just watch it straight away. It's good not just because it's a great masterclass in presenting, but it's actually just good because the content can change your world. So stick around and let's break it down. Hey, welcome to The Loud. My name is Richard Mulholland. I'm the founder and chief evangelist of Presentation Powerhouse Missing Link, which turned 25 last week. Hey! Now, we always try to answer questions for you, and one question we get a lot is, hey, can you recommend any great TED Talks for me to watch? Well, yes, we can. And in fact, more importantly, we can actually tell you a better way to watch TED Talks. We made a video on that very topic. So definitely go check that out. And then let's go check this out. The TED Talk in question today is by Myron, and it is called The Master Key to Influence. Now you have a decision to make. The decision is, do you want to go away and watch the talk first, answer the 4 questions, and then kind of guess what you think I would say about them? Or do you want to see what I have to say and then watch the talk and come back and see if you agree? It's entirely up to you, whichever way you want to do it makes sense, but just please do make sure you watch the full talk. This is not going to give you all that information. So where do we start? Well, we start with 4 questions, and question number 1 is, what did they win you with? Straight out of the gate, what Golden won me with was his talk title, offering you the master key to influence. I want to give you the master key to influencing people. And he actually kind of breaks down in the subtext. He says it also will help you solve for procrastination. And that brings me to the second bit that I really love, is that he kind of comes out straight away with a counter narrative idea that gets you on the hook. Drew, would you mind just showing us this here?
How many of you think you know somebody that has a procrastination problem? Okay, the reason I asked the question, how many of you think you know somebody that has a procrastination problem, is because nobody has a procrastination problem. Procrastination is not a problem. Procrastination is always the symptom to a problem.
He asked the question, do you think you know anybody? And why does he ask that? And he kind of says, nobody has a procrastination problem. So this is the thing. What do you mean nobody has a procrastination problem? And that to me is what you want in every opening. You want an opening that gives you 2 qualities, clarity and curiosity. I'm clear on the topic we're discussing now, influence and procrastination, but I'm also curious as to why you say this. That was straight out the gates. I was like, ooh, I'm on the hook for this. I'm down for another 13 minutes of listening to this guy. Let's go for it. And of course, his style in general was just so appealing. I mean, he hooked me with that too. So what's next? Next is, what was their big idea? The big idea was relatively simple. It's people only do things when they feel like it, right? People will only do things when they feel like it. And he had some great lines around that. Check this out.
People do things for one reason and one reason only, and that is because they feel like it. When people who eat right, they eat right because they feel like eating right more than they feel like eating wrong. People who exercise, they exercise because somehow or another, they figured out a way to make themselves exercise instead of making themselves not exercise. They figured out a way to make themselves feel like doing the thing. And if you can...
Question number 3 is, what do I want to steal? There was so many kind of delicious moments. First of all, didn't you love, and if you've watched it yet, just watch how well he repeats things. Okay, we always say what's repeated is remembered, right? Because you're letting your audience know, hey, this is important. It's so important, I'm saying it twice. And so what's repeated is remembered. Let me give you some examples of when he's done that.
I'm going to tell you something. Frames create focus. If you don't remember anything else to say tonight, remember that frames create focus. What does that mean, that frames create focus? The reason we put a frame around the picture is because we want people to focus on what's inside the frame.
Now, of course, one way he's done that is he's actually managed to bring in some traditional rhetorical tools as well. I spoke about these quite a bit in the Peaky Blinders video, which I'll link up to here if you haven't checked that out yet. But he did a great job of bringing in both, in one kind of small little section, he managed to bring in both anathema, sort of repetition at the beginning of a sentence, and epistrophe, which is repetition at the end of a sentence. So, and he managed to do that so beautifully. And I was watching and I was thinking, oh, this is so good. Check this out.
How do you get the people that you are selling to buy now? How do you get your children to clean their room now? How do you get your children to do their homework now? How do you get the person that you're in love with to be in love with you now? How do you get yourself to eat the things that are going to serve you now? How do you get yourself to move your body the way that's going to make you strongest now? That is a good question. It is a very good question.
But then in my actual notes, when I wrote down, because I do believe that I use repetition and tools like this quite a bit, but what do I want to steal? And the one thing I wanted to steal from this is when he asked his audience, and it was done so beautifully and with such confidence, but not douchebaggery, is he said, hey, so am I right? And check how he did this.
How do I create an environment that causes all of us to feel like doing the things that are in our own best interest? Is that a good question? Yes or yes? Okay.
Amazing. Like, it's so endearing and it's so cool. You do that too much, you don't get away with it. But you do it once, beautiful. And then finally, what feedback would I give them? Now, I need to start by saying that I have said that this is basically my all-time favorite TED Talk. I loved it. I've watched it 3 times in the last week. However, we talk a lot about the importance of emotional altitude, and I understand that he had a lot to say in a short period of time, but the pace, like, I would have loved to have seen him adjust his pace a little bit. If you've watched it already, you'll know that he perorates, so the build to the end is actually he landing the plane. He drops to the end and slows down. But the entire talk is up here. And in fact, there's one moment throughout the talk where he actually breaks his pace and he slows down. I want you to listen to that now, but listen to the audience reaction just because he does it. The telegraphing of slowing down. How powerful is this?
So what is anxiety? If anticipation is the energy I get when the outcome I expect is desirable to me, then anxiety is wasting present energy on a future outcome that's undesirable to me.
So pace is such a key tool, and I think maybe he could have fluctuated a little bit more. The other thing is that I wish, now I love the idea of the immersion presenting where you used a flipboard, but sometimes he couldn't draw as fast as his mouth would speak. So he would repeat twice and you knew it was good, but you were sitting there and the video had moved on. I sometimes think that he could have maybe, not to take away from the fact that he was drawing the slides, but he could have maybe done what Dimitri Martin does and pre-draw some of his content. And again, if you haven't seen Dimitri Martin, I'm going to put a card up here. This clip is incredible. I absolutely love it. He's one of my favorite comedians. But he drew the content beforehand. So Golden could have had his immersive content that he was drawing on like page 3, for example, and he could have flipped back to page 2 to show one big microscript, one of his big lines, because he had so many great lines. And then you could have flipped back later and gone to like page 4 to show one of his other great lines. And I guess this is the one final bit of feedback I would have given him. He has so many beautiful microscripts. I mean, just check out some of these, like this.
When you understand that if your attitude is right, the facts don't matter. So that's the first thing you have to understand. When your attitude is right, the facts don't matter.
And this.
People do things for one reason and one reason only, and that is because they feel like it.
And even this.
Belief is a traveling salesman. It doesn't stay in one place.
But that's not all. He has so many. The problem is there are so many great bombs that he was dropping. As Ruan said, he dropped so many bombs that I didn't know which ones to keep. It's like, we always say if you're juggling and somebody throws you all these balls and there's like 6 balls getting thrown at you, you can only catch 1 or 2, but you get to choose which ones you catch and keep. The person throwing doesn't. Whereas if you want to make sure you know which ideas they take home with them, you got to throw less bombs. And I think the telegraphing of these core ideas by using maybe some of those visual aids would have made it easier for the audience, not necessarily easier for the speaker. However, this is, as I said, my favorite all-time favorite TED Talk. I absolutely loved it, and I hope you do too. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you disagree with me, let me know why. If you have a different favorite TED Talk you want me to watch, let me know about that. And let's have a discussion about it. What did you like? What didn't you like? Let's get into it. And until next time, lead loud.